winning this fight tonight with our name lit up in lights. We're the new kings, winning this fight tonight with our name lit up in lights.
Friday Night Stars, presented by Whataburger. We've had our grill going for 75 years, and yep, it's still going. Whataburger, goodness 24/7.
It's time for the area round of the Texas High School Football Playoffs. In other words, it's round number 2 of the 6-week playoff journey to AT&T Stadium in Arlington. And this is Friday Night Stars. Bill Jones along with Kyle Youmans here in the Globe Life studios at the Star in Frisco. And yes, the playoff road, it just gets better and better each and every week, Kyle.
This is where we really start seeing the best teams emerge, and we really start seeing who is going to make a run that you don't necessarily anticipate, because some of the top teams in the state will be challenged for the first time in the playoffs this week. And depending on what district they're coming out of, it might be the first time they've been challenged in 6 or 7 weeks since the non-conference slate. So I'm really excited to see exactly how these teams match up, and we've got some great games to get to.
And those basketball scores from the by-district round, they tend to go down a little bit as we get a little bit further along here in the playoffs. Let's start with the District of Doom and 2 of the most competitive districts in North Texas, if not the entire state of Texas. District 10 6A, District 11 6A, and we've got several matchups between top teams from these 2 districts, starting with Duncanville and Rockwall Heath right here.
I'm glad you set it up the way that you did there, Bill, because you always look at that district, that Duncanville and DeSoto and Waxahachie are all in, and that's the District of Doom, but that's not always the case. I mean, Duncanville is one of the top teams in the state. We all know this. We've seen this from the Panthers before, and of course their defense is where they've won their championships in the past underneath head coach Reginald Samples, and their defense is looking just like that over their last couple of games. They allowed just 7 points against Mesquite. They blanked Cedar Hill in a 29-0 finale in the regular season, and then they took down Temple out of the Super Syntax region last week 35-14. So their defense is playing at a very high level. But let's not forget about District 10 6A and what Rockwall Heath is going to bring. This is a team that survived that district, went 4-2 in district play. They average nearly 41 points per game, and they have some big-time wins. Teams like Highland Park they've defeated on the road at Highlander Stadium, as I might add. You've got North Forney that they've defeated, and then last week they took down an undefeated Wiley East team 52-10. So the Hawks are as formidable of an offense as Duncanville has faced all season long, so that defense is about to get a test, something like they haven't seen in a couple of weeks, but it's going to be something that Duncanville should be up for the challenge.
And you just love the coaching matchup here, the legendary Reginald Samples at Duncanville and Rodney Webb, who has revived that program at Heath. All right, staying in those same 2 districts here, and it's Class 6A, Division I, Region 2 we're talking about here. The Waxahachie Indians, who knocked off Duncanville earlier in the season, playing at Choctaw Stadium on Friday night against the North Forney Falcons.
Yeah, my bold prediction last week of Waxahachie falling to Waco Midway just didn't work out.
It's your alma mater,
exactly. That's why I thought that to be the case. No, Waco Midway had really no answer for the Indians, and that was to be anticipated. They won that game 48-16. But look at state-ranked North Forney, a team that's 10-1, has had a phenomenal season. They've had some big wins across the board as well. Their only loss was to that Rockwall Heath team that we just talked about, but they took down Saxe 42-7. Saxe stood no chance in that game, in a game that we previewed a little bit last week. So I'm excited to see just how District 10 6A stacks up against some of these formidable opponents out of what the district that Waxahachie had to go through as well, because Waxahachie is still a very good football team across the board. They're really tops in the defensive categories as well, just 15 points per game throughout the season. So I think that we're going to see a lot of the District 10 6A teams step up and make this close. But if you're going to be the District of Doom, you've got to take down the District of Doom.
Waxahachie with D1 talent, just like DeSoto and what Duncanville has as well. It's going to be very interesting to see if this high-powered North Forney offense can do that against a tough Waxahachie team. And we shouldn't leave these I'm going to call it rivalry matchups, but we got 2 competitive districts going out without talking about Class 6A Division II just briefly here, because DeSoto is playing Longview, and that's a revenge game for DeSoto in Division Division II, as Longview took them down in the state quarterfinals last year.
Last year, it's a little bit early on this time around just because of the way that the seeding all kind of worked out. But don't look at this as a revenge game more than it's just a speed bump along the way for this DeSoto team to try and make a little bit of noise.
All right, now let's move on to Class 6A, Division II, Region 1, a team we haven't talked much about this year because they haven't played very close games, as a matter of fact. Number 1 ranked team in the state, Southlake Carroll, will be playing in Stephenville on Friday night against San Angelo Central. Let's talk a little bit about them and what lies ahead perhaps next week for the Dragons if they can beat the Bobcats this week.
Yeah, that's the thing is this is a Bobcats team that's going to try and challenge this Southlake Carroll, and what they bring. 8-2 on the season are San Angelo Central, but Southlake Carroll undefeated. They have all sorts of Division I talent across the board, and they of course have an opportunity to look down the road and see a possible matchup with Prosper there as well. So I'm excited to see exactly what the Dragons bring to the table in a game like this, because they haven't been tested, but they know their biggest test is yet to come.
Yep, and they've got D1 talent at wide receiver in Brock Boyd, an Ohio State commit. And at quarterback, a Pitt commit, Angelo Renda, who's not large in stature, but he's large in the stats that he has put up this season for Riley Dodge's Carroll Dragons. Talk about Prosper a little bit, because last week they beat Hebron 66-39. And as we look ahead, this week they're playing Berkner in Grapevine on Friday night. If they can win that game, and if Southlake Carroll wins, that's your matchup next week.
And that is a matchup where out of Division II of 6A, the winner of that matchup may be your state favorite. That's really where it is this early on, only being in round 3 of the playoffs. Now, they have to take care of business. I know Richardson Berkner is within our viewing area, and at Mustang Panther Stadium coming up on Friday, they're going to have something to say about it. They've got to slow down what Prosper does offensively. 66 points against Hebron last week. Braden Imhoff was 22 of 30 passing with nearly 500 yards passing. He had 8 touchdowns, no interceptions in one game of playoff action. You talk about basketball scores. Prosper can play some basketball too, but their football team's putting up some incredible numbers.
All right, we're going to get to Class 5A a little bit later, but let's go down to Class 4A, Division II, Region 2 right now. A team we have talked about at times this season out of Frisco, the Panther Creek Panthers. They'll be challenged against an unbeaten team from out west in Tarrant County, the Springtown Porcupines. You just have to love the nickname Porcupines.
Yeah, can we just talk about that for a little bit? I mean, that's one of the best overall nicknames you're going to get, and of course they've had a really good start to their season, 11-0. They're going to be upset-minded, and Panther Creek is still a team that's trying to put together a run to be in consideration for a state championship. Of course, they were the only team to really challenge the defending state champion Salina Bobcats earlier in the campaign. Frisco Panther Creek puts up points. They beat Dallas Carter last week 49-7, and I think when you come to a matchup like this against an undefeated team, that undefeated team doesn't really see that level of competition a whole lot coming out of West Texas. So you have the opportunity to start fast, finish fast, kind of catch them off guard a little bit early in this game, and that's what I expect Coach Surratt and company to do.
You know, in Class 4A Division II, very interesting. That one, you talk about a district of doom in Class 4A Division II, Panther Creek's district with Sulphur Springs and with Salina, and you could see a matchup of two teams from that district playing in a regional final.
We said it last week that those three teams, and you could even say the same thing about this area in 5A Division I, there are districts where there's going to be 3 or 4 possible representatives that are going to make a run. That's just part of where we are and the type of talent that's in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and I think that district is very similar.
All right, how about we move on to Class 5A Division I in just a moment. We're just getting started here on Friday Night Stars. We've got a showdown at the Star tonight we're going to talk about next.
This segment was brought to you by Whataburger. Try the all-new Prickly Pear Raspberry Whata-Fresher, made with real raspberry. It's refreshing and ready for you now at Whataburger.
Showdown at the Star. In fact, we're less than a half hour away from this week's showdown at the Star. Class 5A Division I Region 2 matchup. Randy Allen's Highland Park Scots against Chad Cole's Frisco Reedy Lions. This should be a good one. And how about that Randy Allen still going strong? He's about Pete Carroll's age.
Yeah, he's getting up there, and he's also getting up there in terms of career wins. He's closing in as the possible all-time leading wins total for a head coach in high school football in Texas. So a lot of things on the line for Coach Allen as they continue to try and piece together another possible run to get back to a state title game. And this is their first opportunity to take on a possible Frisco squad. And Frisco teams don't like seeing Highland Park coming up on the schedule. Just think about their run last year to the state title game. In the area round, they took down Frisco Wakeland 38-10. Then they took down this Frisco Reedy team that they're going to see this week. They took them down 31-12 in the regional semifinal, and then Highland Park defeated Frisco Lone Star 41-28 in the regional final last year before winning in the semifinal and then falling in the state final to Spring Branch Smithson Valley. So Highland Park knows how to play against Chad Cole's Lions, but can Chad Cole's Lions stand up to the firepower of Highland Park? The defense has been playing better as of late. They survived a defensive battle last week, and they scored a couple extra points in the early parts of that game to hold on to 24-3 over Carrollton Creekview last week. This is going to be their biggest challenge other than the Lone Star matchup, which they had 2 weeks ago. And remember, we talked about how well Reedy played in that game. If it wasn't for a 2-point conversion, they may have won that game.
Yep, and so it's going to be fun to watch tonight as Reedy plays host, so to speak, to Highland Park. Highland Park has played a lot of playoff games in the past, though, here at the Star in Frisco. Let's hone in on another one of those teams you just mentioned, the Lone Star Rangers. They've got designs on a state championship this year, and let's hear from Jeff Rayburn's team.
Offense is always going to get the headlines, and we've always had so many phenomenal big-time players here on offense, and so many guys in college, guys in the NFL. But really the calling card of this team has always been defense and toughness.
Here at Lone Star, the standard is always the standard. No matter, we're not going to lower the standard for any means necessary. So for us as a team, we want to apply by that by any means necessary, not just football in the schoolhouse, out in the world. So the standard is always the standard.
So we say we have 11 starters, but really there's about 15, 16 starters that roll in there that play a significant role in different packages.
Playing here at Lone Star, it's taught me a lot. It's taught me discipline. It's taught me hard work. And a lot of the players that come back, that's D1 already, they come back and say, these are pretty much how they work up there. And so being able to know that and seeing that is going to set us up real well for when we go out for our future.
But this is as talented a team as we've had. Just a high-level talent. We've got 4 national recruits in the senior class that have an opportunity to go play big-time FBS football. We've got a handful of other guys that will go on to play college football. We've got some really talented young juniors and sophomores. So we've always had talented kids throughout our time here, but I think what makes this group different is how they're meshing together. Offensive line was a question mark going into the season. We got 5 new starters on offensive line, and those guys have really been a bright spot to our team.
Frisco Lone Star taking on Georgetown this week. Winner of that game will get either West Mesquite or Midlothian next week.
That's a good Georgetown team, too. They took down Burleson Centennial last week, 42-11. Another good defensive unit that's going to be challenged with the offensive firepower that Lone Star brings to the table. But just as Coach Rayburn said there, the offensive guys, Davian Gross and the different players that they've got to throw the football to are going to get the headlines. But this is a defense that's going to win championships. And this is a defense that they have to rely on to win championships, and Lone Star feels like they have what it takes.
By the way, a Lone Star grad, Nick Bolton, will be here 1 week from today when the Cowboys take on the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's won a few championships himself. Yes, all right, we continue here on Friday Night Stars in just a moment. Back to Class 6A. We check in on those Allen Eagles when we come back.
This segment is brought to you by Whataburger. Introducing the all-new Whataburger Bacon Wrangler Double. Big Texas flavor, made hot and fresh for a limited time, only at Whataburger.
We're getting you set up for a big high school football playoff weekend here on Friday Night Stars. How about this matchup? The Coppell Cowboys against the Richardson Eagles, Class 6A, Division I, Region 1. Kyle Youmans.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, this is a Richardson team that has had one of its best seasons in recent memory, but they've got to go up against the Coppell Cowboys and what they bring to the table again. Coppell 9-1 this season, shut out Plano last week, 38-0, and a Plano team that's really young but had some firepower on the offensive side of the ball. Carter Zingelman has been playing at a very good level, 2,200 passing yards, 1,500 yards through the air rather, and then he's got about 1,000 on the ground too. So this is a Coppell team that has a balanced attack going up against a Richardson team that took down Haltom last week in the by-district win, 35-7. And what they've got out of the District 7 6A ranks is a defense that they really do trust to slow down a team like Coppell that has the firepower on their end.
They knocked off Lake Highlands to win the district championship for the first time in many years. Speaking of Lake Highlands, they'll be taking on the Allen Eagles this week. And let's take an up-close look at that storied program at Allen with Johnny Resendez now.
This is not a college football stadium. This is the home of the Allen Eagles, one of the most recognized high school teams in the nation.
It really doesn't matter if you're driving up from somewhere in the metroplex or you're at an airport in New York. You hear Allen, you think Allen Eagle football. The brand we're talking about is being the toughest, both mentally and physically toughest.
As they say, everything is bigger in Texas, and that is especially true for high school football. The Allen Eagles are a perfect example of that, but that also means that they have Texas-sized expectations virtually every year. That said, this year's team says they thrive under that pressure.
We just feed off that energy. So every time we see that, we just always talk about it and just ready to dominate them.
We wake up every morning wanting to get more work every day. We want to compete with each other. We always have things like keep a score with each other. Like if it's 11-3, next week it's 0-0. Who can get more and more?
They don't shy away from the things that was created before them. You know, all those teams that won the state championships before that, they brought that upon us, which is so neat. We're pushed daily by the quest of trying to reach the heights that have been achieved, and so whatever people throw at us, it's going to fall short of the pressure and expectations that we put on ourselves.
Between 2012 and 2017, Allen won 4 state titles. This year's team has been on a tear, having scored 50 or more points in 5 games and have notched 3 shutouts. Sounds impressive, but to the players, it's the standard they hope to live up to.
I wake up every morning just thanking God, just having me come here this morning, every morning just to play with my brothers every morning. I'm gonna be real sad when it's time to go, but right now we have a long journey ahead of us.
Born and raised in Allen, so just seeing this my whole life, it's just really inspired me to just be on this field play like my whole life. So it was just really exciting to see those state championships and always seeing Kyler Murray play. So when I got on this field, I was very excited just to do what I can do.
Reporting in Allen, Johnny Resendez, CBS Sports Texas.
Well, you talk about a program that has a history in Texas high school football. It's the Allen Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were tested to the brink last week against Louisville and the Fighting Farmers. We thought that would be a good game, but I thought it'd be a high-scoring affair. Instead, it was the first time that Allen has been held under 30 points all season long, and they only had 22 points, had to win that game late against Louisville, 22-15, the final. They're still a powerhouse for many reasons. Yes, they have the biggest enrollment in the area, but at the same time, they have a lot of athletes that they can rely on.
One of the top matchups of the week when we come back. It's from the private school ranks here on Friday Night Stars.
Friday Night Stars, presented by Whataburger. We're celebrating 75 years of giving the people exactly what they order, 24/7. That's the Whataburger way.
Let's head to the private school ranks here. It's TAPS Division I, and how about this matchup? It's a rematch from a regular season game that was played in Argyle. They'll do it in Argyle again, second round of the playoffs. Prestonwood Christian Academy against Jason Witten's 2-time state champion, Liberty Christian Warriors.
Yeah, Liberty Christian went up early in that game, put up 24 points, led 24-10 at halftime in the regular season. But then the second half was very physical. It was very evenly matched. And if Prestonwood Christian comes out with that same type of physicality in a playoff game, they're going to stand a chance to try and knock off the reigning state champs.
And one big difference for the Liberty Christian team is that Cooper Witten, the son of Jason Witten, is out for the year after undergoing foot surgery. He was available for that game and played very well in that game earlier. But my team to beat in the TAPS is Parish Episcopal.
Yes.
And so give me one state champion, no matter what classification. You're very confident that this team is going to win it.
Oh, that's tough. I think I'm going to go with the Aledo Bearcats. I'm going to say Aledo, Titletown, USA is going to get them another one.
Okay, he's going with the chalk. All right, that does it for Friday Night Stars. Enjoy the games this weekend.